Lightyear is the story of Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, Space Ranger, who has just gotten out of his hypersleep cube when he and the rest of his crew have landed on this giant mysterious planet. Turns out it's not exactly where they wanted to be. They were just course correcting, and they're heading off into the wild blue yonder to start a new civilization and discover the secrets of uncharted space. And when getting marooned on this planet, it turns out they actually have a hard time getting out, potentially because of something Buzz did. And Buzz makes it his mission to help everybody get off the planet by hopping in his spaceship and discovering a new form of fuel that will help them reach hyperspeed. But every time he hops in his spaceship and takes off, the hyperspeed makes him lose 4 or 5 years. Because math, I don't really know how physics work in this
Time
Pixar
dilation
universe. That's right. Yeah, sure. And somehow that ends up launching him into the future, where he has to get together in this kind of dystopian hellscape that has become this planet that he and his crew used to be marooned on. And he has to rally with some survivors and hopefully get back to his time, get back to his place, and save the universe. This is the 5th film in the Toy Story franchise. I know it's not necessarily affiliated with Toy Story on its face, but it opens with 3 title cards that all explain how it works in the Toy Story storyline. And that is very simple. In 1995, Andy went to the movies and he saw a movie that made him buy his favorite toy, Buzz Lightyear. This is that movie. this is the movie he saw.
It's so clumsy.
Whatever. Yeah, it's fine, I guess. Like whatever gets asses in seats, huh? The movie stars Chris Evans as the titular Buzz Lightyear, Kiki Palmer as Izzy Hawthorne, and Taika Waititi as one of the goofy comedy. I don't know. The movie is Lightyear. Andy, what'd you think?
I thought this was all right. I mean, it's a fun movie for the kids and adults. I really liked the first act is really strong. Has a lot of really good visuals. It gets a little clunky in Act 2 because we are all of a sudden we are farther 50 years in the future or whatever, and then we're introduced to 4 new characters, and it's almost like another movie starts from there. So like the writing's a little all over the place. It does end well. Did like the last bit part of the movie, but it's a little clunky. It's going in a lot of directions. It does kind of lack the kind of Pixar charm that we've come to know and unfairly maybe expect from the Pixar brand. But I thought it was fun and funny. It could maybe be a little bit shorter. This has been a little bit divisive. Some people are thinking it's fine. Some people are thinking it tarnishes the Toy Story brand. I don't think it's that serious because I don't the character. I mean, that is the funny thing or the interesting thing about Toy Story is it's essentially an existential crisis when Buzz comes along, because he's like thinks he's a space ranger and then realizes he's not, and that's a huge. And it's funny to have existentialism in a kids movie, but we don't get any of that in this because this is like a space. He is actually that space ranger that they're trying to portray. It's fine. It's fine.
So
I don't know why people are mad.
Yeah. By the way, before we jump into it, Toy Story 1, dude, holds up so good. I went back and watched Toy Story 1 just a couple months ago. That plot is airtight. Like, it's so good, start to finish. You got the favorite toy, then the new kid shows up. He doesn't like him. Like, they fall out the window. Oh, dude. Anyway, yeah. I've been surprised at how many people have been real mid on Lightyear. It's got like a 75, I think, on Rotten, which is like fine, something like that. Like three out of 4 critics recommend Lightyear, but the other ones don't. And I wanted to figure out why. I'd heard some people say it's bad, it's not exciting, it's not one of Pixar's good ones. Pixar is a studio that makes 2 kinds of movies. They either make movies for adults that look like a kid's movie, or they make movies for kids that look like a kid's movie. This one is the second one. This is not like made for older people. This is not like Soul. This isn't even really like Turning Red. And I know a lot of people might be like, Turning Red's made for 13-year-olds. Yeah. But a lot of Turning Red is surprisingly adult and mature.
Yeah.
And this is not that movie. This is made for like 8-year-old boys. If I was a kid and I had action figures and I just finished watching Power Rangers and I went and saw Lightyear, I would think this was probably super cool. If I was in 1995 and I was Andy and I saw this movie, I'd have a Buzz Lightyear toy. I would think this is dope. And there's a lot about it that is really clever, but it is not one of Pixar's made for adult movies. They are not sneaking one by you. You're not like, oh, I'm gonna feel something really deep from Lightyear. Nope. This is one of the kid ones. This is one for the kids.
It's one for the kids.
Yes, this is a kid Pixar movie, and I think I actually really liked it. Like, it's not amazing or anything. It's definitely got problems, but what's most redeeming, I find, is in its visuals, which I think we should talk about in a minute. First things first, Chris Evans plays Buzz Lightyear, right? God, I was gonna say Woody Allen. Not Woody Allen.
Tim
not Woody
Allen.
the Cowboy. Tim Allen. That's the one. Tim Allen. Thank you, Andy. Tim Allen has historically played Buzz Lightyear in the past. Chris Evans is taking over the role here. I think it works great. I think
Do we
Chris
know
Evans does a great job.
why that is?
Why, Andy? Go ahead and tell me. I bet you
No,
know.
no, I don't. No, I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, why did he take over? Or why does it work?
No, why does he take over?
Why did he take over?
Why
Okay.
didn't Tim Allen come back?
Okay, there's what I think is the legitimate reason, and then there's my under the table reason. The legitimate reason, I think, is because Tim Allen was not great as Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story 4. He was really uninspired. A lot of his lines were flat. He wasn't used a lot anyway, but I thought he was okay. And we need Buzz to be like young and energetic and exciting and bold and like, dude, he was barely getting it, 5 years ago in Toy Story 4. He was fine. He was fine as Buzz. The reason I think he might have been replaced for Chris Evans in this movie, fundamentally, is because Chris Evans is just going to have more star power. He's just more relevant, right? More kids might know who he is. Captain America's playing Buzz Lightyear. Like, it's a lot easier than, oh yeah, the dad from Still Standing or whatever that show was.
Yeah.
last dad standing. I don't even remember. He's going to be in a movie, right? Like, it's the same reason they cast Chris Pratt as Mario, is because it's exciting. And I think Evans does a really good job. Like, the reason I think it works is because Evans is playing Buzz Lightyear. He's not trying to do a Tim Allen impression. He's trying to do a what he thinks Buzz Lightyear would be impression. It's a bit deeper and it's a bit gruffer, but it totally works. Like, he's kind of this goofy guy who's very mission oriented and is kind of keeping up with his mission log. But he's on the straight and narrow. He's doing the right thing. He's determined to help and do what's right. Like, Buzz Lightyear is a bit of an all-American that way, a bit of a meathead. And that leaves a lot of room for his supporting cast, brought in by Keke Palmer as Izzy, who is this kind of young, spunky girl who's taking no shit from nobody. She's excited to become a space ranger, and she's met the real Buzz Lightyear, and Buzz is we're going to work together. It's going to be great. Taika Waititi plays this kind of goofy comedy character named Mo. Let me tell you, man, I feel like I'm already running into Taika Waititi fatigue.
He's everywhere.
Fatiti. It's like Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yeah, it's like every Disney movie now is just gonna have Lin-Manuel Miranda do the music, and he's gonna voice a character in it, and that's just gonna be the way it is. Like, that's how I feel about Taika Waititi. I'm like, God, he's directing Thor. He's doing this. He's on that HBO show I just watched. Like, I can't. It's a lot. I got a lot of Taika Waititi going on, but it's pretty good. And I'm gonna say that's everybody exciting in the cast.
Bill Hader.
Briefly, this movie makes the tragic mistake of introducing Bill Hader very early as a very small voice character and never bringing him back into the movie. And Bill Hader's great. Bill Hader voiced Flint Lockwood in 2 very successful Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball movies for Sony. You probably could have just used more Bill Hader, but it's fine. At least they got him on set for a day. They got him on a Zoom call to voice a couple lines for him, and they stuck him in. The cast, I think, does a good job. I like Keke Palmer. She's going to be in Nope soon, which I'm excited to see. Her and Chris Evans feel very authentic. Taika Waititi feels like Taika Waititi, but that's, I'm an adult. Not made for me, made for kids. So yeah. Andy, any thoughts on performances?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think because we have this whole kind of time travel thing that's happening, and we have kind of not son, mother-daughter dynamic with Izzy Hawthorne and then her daughter Alicia Hawthorne, voiced by Uzo Aduba, who's famously in Orange is the New Black. If you've watched that show, she's great. What to me is kind of clumsy. It's not necessarily the performances, but like, again, we get introduced to 4 new characters in the second act, and it's it's almost like a new movie is starting, and then it's just a lot going on, and then it kind of also turns into like MacGuffin hunting, where it's like first we got to do it's like becomes a video game. We got to do A before we can do B. Now we've done that, so we B
Well, that's
before we can do C.
so yeah, that's what I mean. Raya and the Last Dragon had a similar setup. They were like, "Hey, we got to go on this journey. We got to pick up all these pieces along the way to get to the destination." Like, I would have thought that was awesome when I was a kid, and I feel like if I was a kid now, I would have felt that was cool too because it feels epic and it feels endless, and it's like, oh, it's this constantly evolving adventure. As an adult, it feels shallow. It does. At one point, they literally get the thing they've been looking for a while, and then drop it to go do something completely different in service of the thing they just found, and it's like you can just moving those goalposts further away. Like that does feel chunky.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I think the performances are good. I think Evans is great. I forgot that it was Chris Evans half the time. Like he felt very natural in the character.
Yes, yeah, he does a great
To
job.
me,
Yeah.
it's more of a story issue.
I agree. I think the script is a little rough. I don't remember. You saw it before me, and I think you said, and I'm gonna put words in your mouth. I'm wrong. The first and third act are good, but the second act is weak. Or did I have that backwards?
No, that's correct.
Yes, I felt the same way. The first act of this movie actually real interesting because I just figured it was going to follow the trailer in which you feel like you've seen the whole film, right? And I was like, here we go. Let's hop on the trailer roll and just do the trailer for 90 minutes. But no, like the first act is actually fairly different than what I thought it was going to be. It's actually surprisingly reflective. It could have been a little bit more emotional. I don't know. You might as well really punch me in the gut while you were there. Second act, it does dry up a little bit. Andy's right. They introduced 4 characters at the beginning of the second act. That scene, by the way, when they introduced them, that's exactly when I got up to go to the bathroom because I was like, ding, now's the time. Like nothing
These aren't
particularly large
important
is
people.
happening in the story. Yeah, it's the turn of the second act. Time to go hit the head.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that was great.
again, it's like it's two different movies. The first
Yes.
part is let's do this mission. The second part is then like, oh, we gotta learn to work together. We got this gang of misfits, and
Yeah. Yeah. And
like
that makes it
they should have been introduced like in Act One. It would have been
right. Like, and then had like the fun missteps away from the trailer because I that stuff was the best stuff, right? The stuff that I didn't already see. And then additionally in the third act, we roll right over that as well. And we get some new stuff that I didn't expect. That was pretty good. It's a little ham-fisted, but overall, it gets the point across. What is it? 100 minutes. This movie's not
yeah.
an hour 40. Yeah, it's not very long.
Again, it's like you said, it's a kids movie. I don't know why.
It is.
I
Yeah.
mean,
This is a kid movie made for
holding it to
kids.
such
Like
a high
that's
narrative
yes.
standard. Like it's
Yeah,
fine.
and I think Disney's had some trouble with that because it's been underperforming for them, and I think it's partly because of controversy, and partly because it's just confusing. Yeah, it's like, is this Toy Story 5? Do I need to have seen Toy Stories to know what is happening here? This is a Toy Story character. It's just like it's clumsy and really what like I wish it wasn't trapped by that, but it is, and on its by itself, like in a vacuum, I think it's pretty fine. It might even actually be kind of good by itself. It is a space epic, which Pixar does not do a lot of. Last time I saw a Pixar character in space, I think was Wally, right?
Mhm.
So that was kind of neat to see them doing ships again, and I so loved the look of this movie. Yeah, here's the bit where I should talk about the visuals. I've heard people say this movie does not have any soul. This movie does not have the heart and the soul that other Pixar movies do, including the movie Soul. I disagree. I think that is here. I think that is in the visuals, and I think people weren't looking for that. I think people were looking for a bouncy script and some bubbly fun, and that's not always there. But what is always there is the visuals. This movie is strikingly good looking. It has incredible throwbacks to all kinds of science fiction, film, TV. You've got looks at Star Trek, Star Wars. You got Blade Runner in here. You got James Cameron's Aliens. You got James Cameron's Terminator 2. You got Terminator 1.
2001.
You got Alien. You got David Fincher's Alien 3 in this movie. Like there are so many. You got time travel movies in here. Like you have so many cool science fiction properties that had to exist for this movie to fly. and it totally works. There's so many neat sequences in here. There's an airlock sequence. Characters have to get from one side of a ship to the other by blasting out the airlock. And you've got laser beams, and you got giant robots, and you got gravity boots, and you got jetpacks. Like, there's so much cool stuff going on in this movie. And it's all presented through this like beautifully lit lens. If you're watching on Facebook, you can see just one frame I've got from the trailer up. Like, this is a children's film. Look at how good this looks, like, it's crazy. Go back and watch the trailer. Watch that David Bowie trailer once or twice and tell me that there's not something happening here. I think the reason that all gets sidelined is because people are looking for a good script, and you're looking for fun, right? And you're looking for the frolic of a children's movie. Like, you want to see the heart and soul of Pixar. It's on the screen. Like, you just weren't looking at it. You didn't see it the way I think it was meant to. That is the emphasis here. Like, it's not some big moral lesson. I think it's a genuine artistic presentation of science fiction. Like, and I think it's really good. And it gets swept up in, it's a Toy Story 5, and it's a weird prequel, and it's a kids movie. Like, I think that is misaligned with the intentions of the movie. But props to the art department, because good God, this movie looks good. Very impressed with the visuals.
Yeah, the action sequences look phenomenal when Buzz is doing all these kind of test flights in the spacecraft. Really exciting, looks really cool. The planet looks good. The aliens and robots are, again, that's where like you said, the heart and soul is in the visuals, for sure.
Yeah.
Some other interesting kind of tidbits. So the movie is doing okay financially. It's struggling, but it was also hammered right between, it's in the middle of a busy film season. Came out a week after Jurassic World, a few weeks after Top Gun, which is still in the top 5, and then Elvis. So it has a lot of competition. There's also a kind of outside theory that because Pixar has released 3 films in a row on streaming, that people are just expecting Pixar to be on streaming and not have to go to the theater. I'm not sure how much that is, may or may not be true, but it's something I heard.
I know, and I feel terrible about that, because I do think Pixar films should be in theaters, and I the last 3 have been on streaming services, and it's been a bit of a bummer. Turning Red was at last minute turned into a streaming only film. It was supposed to be theatrical. The Pixar studio people were mad as hell about that, reportedly. And this one is their first real swing back at theaters, and it's like one of their most underperforming so far. I'm concerned about how the future of their films will go. They will likely be going to streaming. And it's like, good God, Disney, did you really manage to run one of your premier studios into a streaming only function? Like, it may be a good thing for Disney, but it's a bummer for me, because I think these movies really do present the best blown up on the big screen. Like the silver screen is where I want to see these stories. And it bums me out that that may not happen as much because of what I think is misaligned vision. But I mean, I don't know. Who am I to say how Disney runs their stuff? But I was impressed by just how tangibly sci-fi this movie feels. Like, there's so many little things. There's Socks the cat, which is this cyborg little, it's not just cyborg, it's just a robot little cat that rolls around with Buzz. That's really goofy. It's made to sell toys, but is uniquely staged as kind of an interesting droid character, and it's kind of sweet and funny and helpful. At least Socks feels more helpful and damn R2D2. And I love the way like the fuel crystals like rotate and shine, the way that the Buzz is trying to get to turn into hyperspace fuel, and the way that this fuel like is like this gel liquid that like pumps out of these jars, and the stuff he's got, like, it all just feels so thoughtful, like, and it feels so well produced by a team that really wanted to inject some personality and some heart into a story that on its face is a little shallow. I agree. And overall, I think that makes it worth talking about. At least I know it's not for everybody, but I know it'll be on streaming soon. And when it comes there, I would say, I guess I'll have to wait till recommendations to say what I would say. But I do want to talk about the score, Michael Giacchino. Andy,
it's good stuff. No, it's good stuff. We're given the I can't remember it, but we're given, like, Buzz has his own theme, and it's repeated a lot throughout the movie. It's very good. It's very memorable. I can't recall it at the moment, but I do remember that sticking out to me as a good theme for Bud Bud Lightyear, Buzz Lightyear.
Yes. Giacchino does most of Pixar's films. You'll know him from the bombastic scores of The Incredibles 1 or 2, or I think Ratatouille. I mean, he does most of them. He's done Cars, but I mean the ones that are really big brass, like loud orchestra, like that's what this is. This is going to be like big set piece music. And it's good. It's I'm not going to say aggressive, but it feels very like cinematic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I'm not a music man, but at parts I wish it was a little slower, a little quiet, a little thoughtful, but I'm an adult, not made for me. This is a kids movie. Like this is supposed to be for kids. And good. Like I think that's what kids need. They need that energy. They need those big set pieces, right? For things to come together. They need that action to feel very climactic. I think Giorgino does a great job. I don't know. Any other thoughts or recommendations?
I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend Lightyear?
Yeah, I would. Even I wouldn't even say straight. Save it for streaming. I enjoyed it a lot in the theater. It has really great visuals. Take the kids, take the family. Definitely have a good time. It gets a little bogged down in the second act. Like I said, you're introduced to a bunch of new characters, and you kind of got to go on a bunch of side quests, basically. But outside of that, it was a fun time. It's there's a lot of good humor. There's Socks the cat is gonna sell a bunch of toys, I'm sure, and yeah, it was overall pretty enjoyable. A lot of fun.
I really enjoyed this movie. It's not perfect. The script's look, the script's a little bland. It's definitely got problems. It sags in the second act. But I think there's something special happening here, and it's not the most fleshed out, and it's not the most ideal. Pixar has definitely done better, but like for what's happening in Lightyear, like they certainly could have done worse. I think you should try to see it in a theater if you can, if only for how good this movie looks. I think it's a really good looking flick. I'm excited for it to come to streaming. Whenever it gets here, I'm gonna start cutting out frames and tweeting them, like because there are scenes in this movie I was like, God, this looks good. Like God, the lighting, the way this came together, the shadows in this scene, like just I know that sounds small, but like there's something really special happening in Lightyear, and I think for the person with the keen eye, or the 8-year-old who it's actually made for, I think you're gonna enjoy it. So that's Lightyear.